Alrighty. Today we're going to cover the Imprisonment Era that goes from January 20th to February 21st. It's probably going to be a long one, so strap in. January 20th. Tubbo goes back to Snowchester, takes Dream's armor, puts it all the stuff in some vault. You know, you don't want that around. He also mentions that he will continue Project Dreamcatcher and that the first test will be on January 26th. He then talks to Quackity regarding the victory, and Quackity's like, dude, don't trust anyone. But what about Jack Manifold? Air then checks the egg and the blood vines that are at the bottom of the L'Manberg crater, and no surprise to anyone, they are growing pretty quickly. He also plans to help Rambu with some of his memory, and he says that he has the disc item frames that were from Dream's vault. He also creates the final control room for an exhibit in their museum, which I think is not the greatest idea, but whatever. Air also makes the button room and places a book titled I'm Sorry in it, and that is the saddest thing ever, Jesus. Then we got Rambu. He goes back to his little place, his shack, and writes on his memory book. Why not? On the first page, it says that Rambu blew up the community house and that he also has one of Tommy's discs. Now, is this true? Who knows? I have no clue anymore. He also hears the Mellowhigh disc out of, nowhere. And as he goes to his panic room, it starts getting louder and louder. And you know what's there? The disc. He's kind of losing it. And he starts yelling at Dream to return everything. And, of course, there's no reply. And then the music stops. And Rambu erases the first page of his memory book and is like, maybe I am not in Dream's control anymore. I wouldn't trust that too much. He also plans to confront Dream at the prison and finds a new do not read book in the chest of the panic room walls. At the end of the stream, there's a little Rambu is free thing, but then it switches to Dream's smile and Morse code saying it isn't over. Sam announces that Pandora's vault is officially finished. Wonder what we're going to do with it. Ant checks on the blood vines and, ooh, his eyes are purple now. Wonder what that could mean. Bad, Puffy, and Ant all meet up to discuss the egg pyre. And they do some other, small things, like removing a sheep farm. They want to assimilate all the factions under their control, while Dream is locked up in prison, so he doesn't have any control right now. And Bad says that Air is the first target. Sam confronts the egg pyre after seeing all their propaganda and is like, yo, the egg is evil. Bad, you're making a dangerous decision. Sam and Puffy, who secretly wants to stop all of this, notice that Ant's eyes are changing color. Puns then publicly sides with the egg pyre because he's choosing a faction purely based on chaos. Puffy plans to make a therapy office to help other members of the SMP. Oh god. Wants to obtain a totem of undying for Foolish. January 21st. We find out that Ponk has Dream's shield, and he has a few other things that he stole from Dream's vault. He's been haunted by nightmares of Jack, who is one of his distant relatives from the village that went mad thing. And he also reveals that Jack wrote about a mysterious man called Cornelius, Dream's character in that story. He wants to bargain with Dream to revive his cat Sacrifice. Yay. Maybe we shouldn't be reviving things. Tubbo builds a podium near the nuke lab in Snowchester and writes Independence. This is basically saying that Snowchester is his own independent nation. Jack, Foolish, and Rambu all witness this and say that it's a true declaration. And the Snowchester flag is created. Tubbo and Jack then are trying to figure out what the other half of Rambu is, because we know half of Rambu is Enderman, but what could the other half be? Ghast perhaps, but I'm pretty sure that has been proven false. Ooh, Tommy goes to Pandora's vault to visit Dream. In one of the lockers at Pandora's vault, Tommy finds an 11 disc that was placed there by Sam. Tommy has to sign a bunch of contracts and whatnot because he's going in there in waivers. And it says that if a security thing were to happen, that Tommy's going to be in prison for 7 days. Just as precaution. They have to go through a bunch of crazy stuff to finally get to Dream's vault, but they do get there. And idiot, as he is, Tommy starts taunting Dream, and he asks him what he's been up to. And so Dream says that he plans to write with all the books that have been kept in his cell. And he shows Tommy a few, the security features. Tommy finally tells Dream that he hates him for everything that he's done, which is that's valid, And he takes Dream's clock off the wall as a power demonstration. Dream apologizes. We all know that's a lie. And he says he's glad that Tommy finally decided to visit. Dream asks Tommy if he could, be released if he's well behaved. And Tommy's like, no, but you can write 5 books, at least 10 pages, do some mild therapy. And Tommy plans to come back on January 24th. Puffy goes into one of her secret rooms in the towers of Era's castle and writes an entrance in her captain log that she wants to have an undercover plan to, mess up the Eggpire. And she plans to visit Dream in prison. I don't know why these people want to do that. That seems like a horrible idea, but okay. January 22nd. Tommy plans to build a hotel and attempts to hire Sam to help with it. They go to Skeppy and Bad's mansion, and this is when Sam tells him about the Crimson Egg. Sam eventually finally agrees to help Tommy with the whole hotel situation, but he isn't very keen on the spot that Tommy has picked. And then Tommy goes to try to get Phil's help, and Phil's like, nah, you betrayed Techno, so. But then Phil finally is like, if you're nice to the new guy on the server, maybe I'll help you. Slimesicle joins Charlie, yay. January 23rd. Connor builds a party house, and he plans to host a party in it, unsurprisingly. And so Tommy is like, can I be invited? You gotta make up for the past actions. Tommy also sees this billboard that Sam had put up for the hotel construction site, and it's going to be near the remains of Puffy's house for Dream. So maybe not the best placement. As Tommy is finding stuff, he discovers the remains of Gogtopia, and then he destroys the flag with TNT, which sucks because that was the last untouched memorial to Gogtopia. Now it's just gone. Foolish Aunt Tommy, Tubbo, Sam, Rombu Puns, and Charlie all go to Connor's party house to have the party. Tommy then meets with Sam again, and this is when Sam takes on this persona of Sam Nook. It's later said, that Sam Nook is a robot made by Sam. Couldn't make the names any more confusing, could ya? And then, oh no, Jack has lost his nuclear key card. Great going, dude. Tubbo may or may not have died at Connor's party, and he finds himself at the mountain where Dream's vault was located. He sees that the Bloodvines, they're going across the server. And Rombu helps Tubbo find his stuff and helps Jack get his nuclear keycard back because that's a necessity. Quackity then meets with Sam and tells him to kill Dream instead of keeping him in prison. You know what? Doesn't sound like a bad idea. He also mentions that he wants to visit Dream at some point. Seriously, what is wrong with these people and wanting to visit him? And the two of them plan to make the Las Vegas Strip. And they'll make an economy that can control the server. Why do we need economics? January 24th. H-Bomb hosts the latest episode of La Cast, and this time we have Puffy and Bad. Puffy wins. Fundy finally comes back and discovers that the Bloodvines have been growing around the server even more and collects some weeping vines from the disused farm by Tubbo's old house, and he wants to meet Puffy. Puffy fills him in on the whole Eggpire thing, shows him the Crimson Egg. Honestly, why do people keep going to visit it? It sounds like a bad idea, just like Dream. But thank God Fundy is actually disgusted by the egg. That's good. Fundy's like, maybe the egg is connected to Dreamins. That thing from the beginning that everyone just forgets about? Then Tommy meets with Sam Nook again, who instructs him to check out the egg, the Bloodvines, all that stuff that might halt construction. And Tommy says that Sam told him that Dream was misbehaving, and he hasn't finished his assigned books yet. This literally feels like summer homework. Then Tommy finds Fundy. Fundy's a bit worried about the egg situation, but Tommy doesn't really listen. And this is when Tommy notices that Ant's eyes are changing color, and that the color is draining from Bad's skin. They try to get him to join the Eggpire. Yeah. Then they try to convert him, and that feels wrong. Tommy finally fills Tubbo in on his plans of constructing the hotel. That took a bit of time. And then Tommy decides to show Tubbo the egg. Why? Because when Tubbo touches it, he just starts crying. And magically, Bad and Ant show up and are like, Tubbo, you should join the Eggpire. And Techno and Rombu meet up. Techno shows Rombu Pogtopia, steals some stuff from there. I honestly forgot that it was still usable. And Techno says that, you know what, Pogtopia reminds me of some memories I'd rather not revisit. Which is ironic because I think a lot of the fandom likes the Pogtopia era. And because Rombu is part Underman, he has that weird soak touch ability, so he's picking up spawners. And Jack and Nikki, they go over their plan to kill Tommy. And oh looky guys, it's the latest episode of Tales from the Dsmp called The Lost City of Mizio. It's set hundreds of years in the future this time, and it follows 4 fishermen. They uncover they discover this city of Mizzou, which is underwater, and it has different themed rooms that are worshipping the majority of the Dsmp characters that are there in the present day. Unsurprisingly, everyone dies. The final of the two die at the hands of Ranbob, a character that is similar to Rambu, and who lived and worshipped in the room associated with dreams. So that one hurts. And after the death of these fishermen, Carl returns to the present day through a purple and light blue spiral portal. And then he writes about his adventures in Mizzou and makes a diary entry stating that he's remembering less and less, but that he travels enough he could be able to right some wrongs and prevent all the bad things he's seeing. He then covers a secret room and looks out into his library towards this crater of L'Manberg and puts a hoodie on his skin. Switching colors. So I think this is when it's like painfully apparent that Carl is a time traveler and fiance lovers are gonna get sad. Oh look, it's Ant and Bad again. And Sam's there too. Sam's like, oh, Bad, you look a bit different. But Ant's eyes are at least back to normal. And Bad puts on a disguise, so maybe it's all fine. Sam continues with his speech, and that he's concerned for both Tommy and Tubbo because Tommy's mental state is trash and Tubbo is frightened by the egg. Bad's like, well, anyway, let's go free the egg. Bad and Ant continue to defend the thing, and then Puffy and Sam are like, nah, fam, that's not happening. And Sam reveals to Puffy that Bad and Ant attempted to convince Tommy and Tubbo to become possessed by the egg. So Puffy starts freaking out, and Bad pretends that he's not under the influence of the egg anymore, and tells Sam that he's right. And as everyone's having a heart-to-heart, Bad hits a secret button that removes the block from the center of the table that they're all sitting at, and Sam falls down onto the obsidian top on the egg. Puffy's in shock. Yeah, and Sam's just stuck there now. Puffy is able to get away though, so she's good. January 25th. Yeah, so Puffy starts gathering supplies to start rescuing Sam from that horrible thing. And then she finds new vines growing at Letarge and the socializing club. Oh god. Tommy is a bit scared because he hasn't seen Sam Nook at all. Speaks to Puffy. And at first Tommy's like, you've been working with Bad a lot. I don't know how much I trust you. But then Puffy explains what happened with Sam, and so Tommy's like, nice, okay. Puffy and Tommy then go to the egg. They're finally able to get Sam free, and so Sam explains everything that had happened the night before. At Sam's mountain base, they find a bloodvine seed. Sam seems to have started liking it. That's not good. And then Tommy meets up with Sam Nook. Puffy also returns to her tasks, and she sees Rambu just sleepwalking. That's kind of funny. Ponk then meets up with Puffy and shows her that he has Dream Shield. In the Holy Land, Puffy meets with Ant, and then they go to Snowchester, and at Snowchester they find Foolish, and Puffy tells Foolish and Ant that Sam has been rescued from the egg, and then Ant takes off his disguise because he was disguised, and show that his eyes, they're completely red now, so that's fun. He threatens to trap Puffy with the egg, and also threatens Foolish and his child. Then he looks around the server with the bloodvines and sees that little green from Punk's casino has been removed. And then he decides to plant more bloodvine seeds. That's sweet. Punk meets up with Ant, and then Bad comes. And they discuss the Empire headquarters with Punk, and Ant tells Bad that Puffy had helped Sam escape. So there is a traitor in the midst. So they plan to trap and, kill Puffy. And then Punk suggests hiring Purple to help. January 26th. Punk is able to escape from the obsidian box that he was placed in with the egg. And, yeah. But he has no effect, so that's chill. Then in the end, we also thought that with Sam, and look how that ended up. Punk tells Bad that he's still not converted yet, and so he tries to escape and kill Bad. That didn't go well, because Bad orders Punk to stay in the room for another day, just to see what will happen. Punk also reveals that he was the one that took down Little Red in the casino, and that the blood-vine seed of the flower is stored in his inventory. Tubbo and Jack meet at Snowchester for the planned test of Project Dreamcatcher. So Tubbo crafts a new set of key cards to, replace the ones that have been lost. And yeah, it's all going great. Not really, but we lie to ourselves here. Jack then speaks to Sam and meets with Nikki, and they try to lure Tommy towards the nuke site to kill him. And when Tommy logs on, he finds a rose from Hannah that says he wasn't forgotten. Aww. Anyway, Tubbo starts the countdown for the nuke and warns everyone to stay away. Jack stalls it by losing his keycard again, not really losing it. And then Tubbo and Jack launch the nuke, and it causes more damage. Oh no. Tommy and Nikki are on track. They're going to arrive in time to be accidentally blown up. But then Tommy stops randomly and starts ranting about endgame spoilers. Remember when that was a thing? Tubbo says that the launch was a success and that he will decommission the 2 other nukes in his lab. While Jack and Nikki are like, well, we failed. Tommy's still alive. We got to come up with other ways to kill him. Then Tubbo and Rambu meet up. They have a little whatever. And Rambu removes Tubbo from the unsure part of his memory book into the friends section. Rambu meets up with Nikki and asks why she burnt down the Leman tree. And so she says that Rambu was actually right about not choosing sides and that she lost hope in Lemanburg. Rambu's like, well, you could have at least helped, And then everything starts coming together. Nikki shows Rambu the underground library, and Rambu shows Nikki his progress on repairing the community house. And then he mentions that he's going to build an underground city, possibly called the City of Mizzou. I've connected the dots. Anyway, Rambu removes Nikki from the stay away section into the unsure section, which I think she should have stayed there. I love you, but getting a little scary. Bad checks on the rapid growth of the blood vines and reinforces them to infect everyone. He then meets with Quackity to discuss the egg and tries to convince him to join the egg pyre, and Callahan follows. They go to the Lemanburg crater to inspect the vines growing there, and they're starting to climb up the walls now. Quackity becomes nauseous. Bad's like, Quackity, you can defeat the egg after it spreads. You'll be the real hero of this story. Quackity's like, but say more. So they head to the egg, and then Carl is there secretly listening to them. When they finally get to the statue room, Quackity jumps in the egg, saying it was intriguing. And the egg speaks. What the frick? Carl then says that he has a present for Quackity, so that lures Quackity away from it. And did we all forget Punk is still inside the obsidian cell above the egg? Yay. Bad then sees Rambu sleepwalking in Pun's backyard. Quackity's a bit concerned because Bad's been acting pretty freaky recently, but I think he's been acting freaky a bit more than just recently. So Bad's like, I let myself get corrupted by the egg because I couldn't save Skeppy, and that is painful. He says that the egg will give people what they want as long as they give it loyalty, which if it's an egg, how does it have feelings? It's also found that Tommy is immune, so there's that. January 27th. Fundy goes to Snowchester and then visits Phil. He tells Phil that he's not upset that Lemanburg was destroyed because, and that he didn't participate in the Doomsday War because he thought the Lemanburgians were corrupt and needed to be taught a lesson. I don't think getting killed is being taught a lesson, but okay. Both of them start talking about the egg, and Phil says that the egg has been whispering terrible things, and then joins Fundy in his plan to blow everything up. Tubbo is also trying to clean up some blood vines, and he stops by the egg pyre headquarters and accidentally falls down into the egg room. But with Rambu's help, he is able to escape. Rambu tells Tubbo the Fundy's plans, and then shows him a hidden room, a statue room, where they can inspect the egg without, getting hurt. Also, you want to get sad? As Puffy is spying on Bad, she sees that he has a picture of Skeppy that he's looking at or whatever. Depressing. But then she accidentally blows up the mansion, so we can't have good things all the time. January 28th. Tommy checks on the hotel construction, and Jack asks if he can help with the hotel destruction. Now, any rational person would probably say no, but Tommy decides to hire him. Sam Nook also alerts Tommy of the blood vines that are, coming into the build site now, and it's halting progress. Tommy is forced to remove all this and burn it with soul fire. Then Sam, not Sam Nook, is back, and Tommy speaks about Jack, and that Jack is acting, a little suspicious. Bad checks on the growth of the blood vines at the Lemanburg crater and notices new flowers. Also, Carl meets Bad and gives him a diamond named Stay Away from Q. Sweet. But Bad doesn't care. And Quackity tries to secretly visit the egg, but Bad is alerted and goes back to the statue room and tells Quackity to leave. Rambu goes on a little adventure to find a woodland mansion to get some totems of undying. And guess how many he has now? 7. I can't even find one. This man has 7. Maybe it's because I'm bad. I don't know. January 29th. Pog finally sees that his third lemon tree was burned down. Rest in peace. And then George comes back. Oh my god, a name I haven't seen in forever. Sapnap and Carl show George the egg, and Sap warns George not to touch it, and Carl builds a highway to avoid touching on those blood vines. Puffy collects a few things and finally rebuilds the community house. Carl also reveals that the next Tales from the Dsmp episode will take place in the past with the original characters. January 30th. Bad visits Dream in Pandora's vault. This couldn't possibly go wrong. He has to go through those procedures, Great. And Bad tells Dream about the new developments on the server, the egg, the blood vines. And Dream plays a game with his clock that Tommy showed him. And he also burned all the books that Tommy told him to write. So, great going, dude. He hands Bad a letter saying thank you for visiting. Also, he tried to escape. And now he can't have visitors for a few days. But he wants Sap and George to visit. Bad's like, okay, I'll try to get them. Bad also becomes set on becoming a prison guard at Pandora's vault, which I think is a horrible idea, but okay. At least he thinks Dream deserves to be there. So, there's that. As Bad leaves and he's walking around the server, he sees that the bloodlines don't grow in the Holy Land. Interesting. And then Rambu decides to visit Dream in Pandora's vault. Yippee skippy, let's go. Rambu gets to bring in his original memory book. Fantastic. Rambu goes to the cell and tells Dream that he didn't do anything that he had told him. Then Dream starts talking in third person again, gets weird, and says that Rambu did do the things and that they're always best friends. He also says he hates the clock in the wall, which, what the frick is that clock about? Because he keeps breaking it, it keeps getting replaced, he keeps hating it. What is the clock about, guys? And then Dream shows Rambu what he's been writing. It's a chest full of copies of his memory book. Dream says he isn't even real, disappears, the ceiling of the cell collapses, and Rambu falls and blacks out. Then there's some more Morse code, a flashing crown, a smiley face, and a message that says, not free yet. January 31st. Foolish reveals that he's been making progress on his off-stream build of a giant gateway for his new temple. And Bad then have another meeting to discuss the egg pyre. Puns has now fully become an ally of the egg pyre, and reveals his new bleached skin with red eyes. And Bad's like, you know what? Puffy has finally turned against us. They bribed Ponk to put in a contract with an unknown person to deal with Puffy. But nothing's really come of it yet, so it may have been a scam. And also, Punk's eyes have turned red. The rest of his skin's normal, but not that part. Then Purple suddenly just shows up and asks Bad what he wants, and they want Purple to hunt down Puffy. Everyone decides that they're going to take Puffy to the obsidian cell above the egg, and she'll get the same treatment as Sam. Then Bad and everyone discuss who are the other targets that don't like the egg. You know who? Sam Nook. February 1st. Haha! Punk isn't actually corrupted by the egg, he just had red contacts. Whoa! He escapes the egg room and meets Hannah at the Spider XP farm. Rambu wakes back up and he's super confused of if that prison visit was real or just a hallucination. And honestly, me too. He opens his memory book and look, there's no records. So he plans to visit Pandora's vault to try to discover the architectural differences in order to prove the visit was in fact a dream. He then asks Sam if he can visit Dream, and Sam says, nah, the prison's under quarantine right now. No visits. But then Rambu's like, what if I just didn't see Sam? What if I just didn't see Dream? And then Sam just agrees for some reason. But Sam has signed contracts that Rambu did visit Dream before, so it had to have happened. But because of his wacky memory, Rambu doesn't remember that and keeps saying that he never visited Dream before. And so because of this little skirmish, Sam doesn't let Rambu visit. Sam and Rambu meet up near the community house to discuss the evidence of the signature possibly being forged. And Sam presents the contract and states that Rambu had changed his contract prior to signing. He also wrote in an unreadable language, but mumbled reason number 3, which was if he visited the prison in his underwalk state under his breath when he read the presented contract. It's a message that says, I hereby assume signed Rambu. Sam's like, what did you talk about with Dream? And Rambu can't remember, so yay. Rambu is temporarily banned from visiting the prison. And Rambu's like, don't let me in regardless, Sam. Also, there's a 4th do not read book. February 2nd. Tommy has this whole thing on why the construction of the hotel hasn't been fixed or whatever. There's been a payment confusion and the blood vines are making it difficult. And so Tommy goes to the statue room and the egg starts speaking to him. He then breaks a part of the egg, and the egg protests, and then Ponk, with his red eyes, arrives and makes Tommy leave. And Tommy runs back because he's scared, and Ant's there and kills him. Not canonical. Sam Nook shows up and threatens Puns and Ant, who are there, and says to never come back again. Sam Nook asks Tommy to deliver some leaflets to advertise the hotel to at least 5 people. And Tommy lets Sam Nook deliver one to Dream. That seems stupid. You know what the other people were? Tubbo, understandable. Techno, okay. And then Bad and Skeppy. What? Sam decides to blow up some of the blood vines and sees that the voice of the egg got softer after that. Sam goes to the Eggpire headquarters and goes into the egg room behind Ant and tries to manipulate Ant to reveal what the Eggpire is planning on doing. And Ant is like, nah fam, we're not going to tell you. Then Bad shows up and Sam tries to do the same thing. And Bad explains that the egg requires nourishment and more allies. I don't like this. And then Bad gives Sam a bloodvine seed to plant. He doesn't. He throws it in lava instead. February 3rd. Tubbo gets one of those leaflets from Tommy's hotel, and then he plans to go on a killing spree. Yeah, thankfully, he fails to run into anyone. Latest Tales from the SMP episode, everyone. The Masquerade. There's a masquerade party set in the past, where friends of a mansion owner come together, only to get brutally murdered by one by one. Now, this kind of reminds me of one Agatha Christie novel that I read in 6th grade. Towards the end, the mansion owner reveals the secret powers of an egg, similar to the present day one. Ooh. And then it's explained that it needs to be kept nourished. Carl is killed by the mansion owner's butler and taken to a palace called the In-Between. He learns that he has to travel through time to tell the stories of all these things, and that he has to move his library to a safe place so that it will not get destroyed. So he goes back to the library after all this, in the present day. He writes in his diary about how the In-Between is a place I don't quite understand, but it feels like he's already been there. He also writes that he can't keep losing his memory, but every time he goes to the In-Between, it keeps happening. He vows to look deeper into the In-Between to hopefully find my way to ensure that I don't lose everyone that's so close to me. Sorry fam, it's probably gonna happen anyway. He wants to bring happiness to the lands and preserve the stories that he's been finding. Puffy hears that Tommy successfully mined out a chunk of the egg and then goes to destroy it herself. The egg hits back and it kills her, so she retreats. Because Tommy is considered neutral to the egg, that might be why it didn't harm him and that he was able to mine it. She then realizes that the egg might have wanted to be collected by Tommy in order to spread farther. Rambu logs in, and he's in the middle of a snow biome with no clue where he is. Eventually, he finds a portal that connects to Techno's cabin, and so he's able to get back to the greater SMP. There, he notices that the blood vines have expanded farther, and then he goes to his spy room to observe the egg. The Skeppy statue sadly blocks his vision, and so he can't really see. He then plans to enclose himself in an obsidian box without pickaxes to stop himself from ender walking. I think that's a horrible idea, but okay. February 4th. Puffy gets consent from Tubbo to expand the borders of Snowchester, and that's about it. February 5th. Punk has been building this woo station for Valentine's Day. Don't ask about it. It's for Sam. So he starts adding pieces of a message spread out over it to ask Sam out. I think that's kind of sweet. Has also been working on his shrine thing. He added a sphinx and he's making pyramids. It's very obvious it'll be an Egyptian theme. Jack is in Aerith's castle and he puts a picture of himself on Aerith's throne and claims it as himself so that no one else can oppose him. But then H-Bomb shows up and he touches some of the blood vines, so Jack takes him to Church Prime to cleanse him. Jack wants to check up on the egg, but he accidentally hits it while placing a sign on it, so it hits back. February 7th. George, not much really happens on this day, but George breaks a single piece of blackstone in Pandora's vault. Just a joke to break Dream out, but then Sam shows up and warns George not to try again and threatens taking all of George's canon lives. February 8th. When Puffy goes to her underground room, she finds a bunch of netherrack spelling out anarchy. I wonder who that could be. So she plans to go to Techno's cabin. Rambu begins his stream in an enderwalking state, and he's walking around picking up grass blocks and whatnot, and then looks at Dream's thanks note from when he had Cat, and then he wakes up and seemingly forgot exactly what happened. He plans to rebuild his shack. That's a good idea. Make it better. And then Puffy is there, and Puffy hands Rambu a book asking him if he had left it for her, and Rambu just doesn't say anything. And Rambu is very confused of why Puffy is there. And Puffy tries to leave a note for Techno, in case the plan with everything was found out by the Egg Pyre. And then Rambu says that he doesn't want to get into any more conflicts and considers running away to the Arctic. February 9th. Ponk sees that his shrine has been burnt down, and with the help from Nikki and Foolish, he takes revenge on Puffy for it. There was a lot of revenge. Rambu and Tubbo log on, and they go to Rambu's newly built house in the Arctic. He wasn't lying about that. Carl also decides to finally move his library with the help of Sap and George. They disassemble it near the party park and then find some supplies. And then they form a new nation and formally dissolve L Rapids. They decide that the new nation will be called something mushroom related. And Carl says that the one rule of the new nation was that they couldn't destroy any flowers. And if they do, they have to plant them once again. This is the most peaceful thing this server has ever come up with. So they go and they find a flower forest near Nikki's underground city and Alyssa's barn to build a new library. And then while we're on like that whole thing of people visiting Dream in prison, Sapnap shows up. Sam wishes Sap good luck because Dream has been refusing to speak as of recently. And so Dream doesn't actually say anything, but communicates to Sapnap via books whilst playing with the clock, that freaking clock. Dream's like, why did you take so long to visit me? And so Sap says, I was hurt, bro. You definitely betrayed me and whatnot. Yeah. And Sapnap says that Dream deserves to be in prison. Dream says that he had actually been planning to escape, and Sap's like, don't do that. That's a bad idea. And so Dream responds by burning the communication book and the clock again. Sapnap says if Dream were to ever escape, that he would hunt him down and take his last canon life. He's not messing around anymore. Dream says that someone else, Rambu, has been visiting, and Sap's like, you want me to pass on a message? And so what does Dream pass on? The smiley face. Sap says that he wants Dream to behave better. Dream agrees. And Sap mentions that he would ask George to visit at some point as well. And while Sap's leaving, Sam and him talk, and then Sam kills him. Sap then finally goes to visit Rambu because reasons, and passes on Dream's message. Rambu reads it, goes into a panic, and walks away. Rambu then enters his Enderwalk state again and sends Sap a message before leaving. It says, doomed are those who try to run, for it always catches up eventually. Smiley face. What the frick, Rambu? February 10th. Rambu logs on again by the tunnel to Snowchester, and he is in a completely different place than when he left. Man just keeps popping up everywhere. February 11th. Carl hosts a couples therapy session with Bad, Skeppy, Carl, and Sapnap. During this, Bad and Skeppy cover the studio with redstone ore, and Sap fills it with sand, so didn't go that well. Bad meets up once more with Quackity and Carl, and they go to Skeppy's mansion to check on Puffy's progress with remodeling the mansion. And then Bad is able to meet up with Foolish at some point, and Foolish tells Bad that the egg is not welcomed on his land. February 12th. Ponk writes Sam a Valentine's Day card. Yay. Puffy starts building a mushroom house and utilizes the beacon that she has in her underground room. And Bad and Foolish help. And aren't her and Bad not on good terms? Like right now, how is that even like working? So after building it, Bad undergoes a therapy session with Puffy in the therapy office, and Foolish is also there. I don't know if that's how therapy works, but okay. February 13th. Bad meets with Techno at his cabin and confronts him about Puffy, and then Bad tries to get Techno to join the Egg Pyre and shows him all the propaganda and bloodlines they have going on. And Techno does consider, because the Egg Pyre is technically anti-government. And then Puffy visits the egg in the statue room, sees that the bloodlines continue to grow, and realizes that Bad might have found the note that she had placed. And then Bad takes Techno to the statue room, and the egg starts talking again. Rambu sneaks in too, and Bad feeds the egg some steak and tells Techno about the egg. He says that the egg will give Techno anything he ever wanted, and Techno starts to get suspicious about this whole ordeal. He says that he doesn't really need any help. He's strong enough himself, and the egg tries to speak to Techno multiple times, but Techno does not understand it. Bad then catches Rambu in the room, and Techno tries to distract Bad, but doesn't really work. And so Bad questions Rambu why he's there, and Rambu's like, I'm just lost. Bad tries to bring him to the egg, and Rambu doesn't really hear anything. And so, because he's a bit mad, Bad brings everyone to the Egg Pyre headquarters and says that he's having a picnic. He threatens Techno with Rambu, but then he realizes that Puffy, Rambu, and Techno can easily kill him. It's 3v1. And so Bad preaches more about the egg. And then Bad tells Techno to leave and goes after Puffy, which leads the 3-2 fight Bad. Bad ends up trapping Rambu ended up sitting in cell above the egg, which is like kind of what he wanted. And Rambu escapes with the help of Techno's trident and a few ender pearls. And Techno's like, what is going on? So Puffy explains everything. And what do you know? Rambu heard something from the egg. When they finally escape, Rambu considers destroying the egg, but reconsiders after thinking it could really kill anyone. So maybe no. And then the egg starts talking to Rambu as he leaves the room, and he understands the language that is spoken by the egg. And he challenges it, saying that he has power over it. No, you don't, fam, but okay. Rambu then tries to think of a way to reunite the server and make it more peaceful and to maybe have a middle ground for once. So he decides, I'll build a court. February 14th. It's Valentine's Day. Rambu helps Tubbo free a bee. Also, they try to get Michael, a zombified piglin, to Snowchester. It's a whole ordeal, and it's a bit harder to transfer him than I think they all expected, but Michael ends up making it to the SMP. And Sam does accept Punk's Valentine's Day request. And hey, it's another episode of Tales from the SMP. It's called The Wild West. It's in a western town around the same time period as the Masquerade and tells the tale of a town troubled by bandits. Say that 10 times fast. And with Carl's help, everyone overcomes their problems. At the end, Carl once again ends up in the in-between and explores more of the castle that's there. He finds a couple of different versions of himself, which is terrifying to think about, and is told through a bunch of books that sometimes the stories don't end in misery, but that this doesn't make any one tale more important than the other. Carl is also warned to not to stray from the path, and he is told that he will return to his old library one last time, though it may look a little bit different. February 15th. Foolish has added statues to his entrance gate, and his little temple is called the Temple of Undying. Rambu randomly decides to go on this quest to get every music disc, and like, fam, we already have one person that's trying to do that. Do we really need another? I'm sorry. He also finds a bunch of signs with his plans erased and replaced all around, and he thinks that maybe he placed them when he was underwalking, but he also starts thinking of anyone that could, be trusted to keep a secret of his underwalking and the location of his fourth memory book, because we all knew Rambu's memory is trash. Puffy makes an area that she can use to spy on Bad in a secret room near the vault that Bad made at the bottom of his and Skeppy's mansion. February 16th. Rambu is a bit unsure of who he can trust, and so he travels to the L'Manberg crater. He learns that the blood vines can't grow in the Holy Land, and also randomly renames a golden enchanted apple for some reason. And then remember the hotel? It's finished now. Tommy is very satisfied with this result. Tommy takes Jack to the hotel and employs him as the first employee. He then is given a contract to sign, and that he will get diamonds as pay. Skeppy and Bad have also read the leaflet about Tommy's new hotel. Carl picks up where that last Tales from the SMP episode ended, in a cave that connects to his old library. He writes an entry for the Wild West episode and goes to his old library, but it's abandoned and filled with blood vines. Carl also shows Sapnap his new headquarters and the new library. Also, as they're moving stuff, Carl forgets to put everything in chronological order. That sucks. And Carl and Sapnap are working on their new country with some of Bad's help, and it is now officially named Kinoko Kingdom. February 17th. Puffy visits the L'Manberg crater and adds a layer of glass over it to create a true memorial for the fallen nation. February 18th. Puffy makes a second book of hype, and to note new subscribers for finally hitting 500k followers on Twitch. Then Ant logs on. He's content with all the blood vines that have been growing around, and then he comes across some posters and whatnot and meets with Bad. Both Ant and Bad are like, I think it was Puffy. I think she's messing with us. Ant, Bad, and Puffy go to the statue room, and there they find that Foolish has pranked the egg. Bad challenges Puffy and Ant to a fight randomly, and they try to kill him. And then Puffy goes to the therapy office, where Ant performs couples therapy on Bad and Puffy. Puffy is dressed like a cat-made Skeppy. February 19th. George is back, and he meets with Quackity. Quackity may or may not have killed him, and George spawns back at Kinoko Kingdom. Cool. He also tries to break into Pandora's vault again, and honestly, if you couldn't do the first time, let's not try a second time. Also not very lore-based again, but I just think this is cool. Foolish is making an Anubis head statue at his pyramid. So yeah, ancient Egyptian theme, 100%. It looks super awesome. February 20th. Rambu starts his charity subathon. Again, not lore-based, just a cool thing. Last day. February 21st. Foolish is adding a few final touches on the Temple of Undying. And then H-Bomb meets up, and Foolish explains that there needs to be a sacrifice. And then H-Bomb volunteers reluctantly. And then later on, Tommy visits Dream again. He says it's going to be the last time, because the roof of the hotel is being destroyed by bloodvines. Tommy does all that security stuff and then heads across the bridge to the cell. Dream is like super pleased that Tommy's here. And Tommy tells him, it's going to be my last time, dude. And so Tommy looks through all of Dream's chests and finds the thanks for visiting books for both Bad and Sapnap. And Dream informs Tommy that Bad has updated him on the state of the egg. Now this is kind of weird. Dream says that he just wanted the server to be one big happy family. Now we all know that's fake. Tommy is able to tell it's all a farce and says that Dream really ruined that by trying to destroy L'Manberg. As Tommy's planning to book it out of there, TNT is heard. Tommy screams, calling for Sam, Phil, literally anyone to save him. But Dream confirms that he had contracts written with Sam. That Tommy is stuck in the cell for at most 7 days. More TNT there. Tommy's calling for help, arguing with Dream. It's not a pretty sight. As they're arguing, Tommy takes the things for visiting books, the item frame for the clocks, and several unwritten books and throws those into the lava. Dream is upset. Dream's like, you know what? We can be together just like how we were in your exile. And then Tommy threatens him not to mention any of those events because trauma. Eventually, Sam gets back and says that there is a security issue that needs to be investigated and that Tommy just needs to hang in tight for the time being. And Dream's like, bro, you're stuck in here with me. And then Tommy just stares out into the lava, really thinking about his life choices, and then the screen goes black. Now, with Tommy being in prison, there is a whole security issue going on. His server is now in the prison lockdown era. Whoop-de-doo. If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things that real YouTubers are supposed to say, and goodbye.